Ndinoda kuti nyika isiwe vanhu vangu inguva yedu hatingatadzi kubudirira Mwari ari parutivi pedu rambai muchirwa My hitters gon' die, don't die, the real hitters gon' shine and my people gon' rise, cause we're born to win, I ain't saying this but I'm saying
Loyalty's my favorite characteristic of God, but finding it in it is hard. It's like trying to find God. You're the only one in your camp with cheese. You pay for everything they eat. Man, that insecurity is deep. Now I ain't said no names. These are just theories. If you hear me, baby, it's home. You must admit it's kinda eerie, baby. Like them chemtrails in the sky. Hate the selling the slaves, kinda like the combines. We say everything in moderation, but don't do it in moderation. The lies of a gluttonous generation. 10-year-old girl in.
Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? I hope everybody is having a blessed and happy Tuesday. Remember, today is voter registration day. We got some events going on out there in Rainier Beach, so I just wanted to say that first. Yesterday was just such an amazing show. I want to really thank Tony and the members of Vocal Walk for coming on yesterday. But today we're going to get into the news, and I'm just so happy to be sitting next to the Ric Flair of Converge.
Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll say I'm the Rock.
Yeah.
You smell when Big O is cooking.
Right. How you doing, O?
Man, I'm doing all right.
All
you
right.
know what I'm saying? I want to reaffirm this, that black media matters. And just because we black media, we ain't cheap by far.
Yeah. Okay. We love our people, right?
You had to be on the set. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
but black does not equate to cheap.
Yeah.
Matter of fact.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a different story. Anyway, I'm messing with you.
We've been having so much fun. Today we got Cliff on the show, but we did want to go over some of the news. So hold on. What happened this weekend now?
Well, I'm gonna get to that.
Okay. I'm ready.
We got some photos in there. You're not in any of them. But we got some photos in there. Stuff. And by the way, so we gotta let everybody know. See, there's a few things, right? I'm gonna do it for you here today. I know you just jump right into it. So cameras right here. Good morning, everybody. Want to welcome you to the Day with Trae right here on Converge Media Network. Guest hosted all this week by my colleague Deaunte Damper. Today will be my last day here on set, and he's got it from here on. Want to remind everybody out there to make sure and tag and share the stream. Tag and share the stream with people you feel would appreciate culturally relevant news and information broadcasting from downtown, but with the heart of the South End.
With the heart of the South End. Shout out to Trae. Shout out to Trae, my bill brother.
See now you just taking it somewhere. Hold on, almost there. Yeah. So if you want to check out the Day with Trae, hosted by Deaunte Damper, you can also catch that anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. That's Google, Spotify, iTunes, Apple, over 200 different platforms. All you have to do is search Converge Media Network. Now back to you, Deaunte. I do have some news from City Hall to get into.
Oh, what was the news in City Hall? I seen that they were
talking about weed, man.
Really? The ganja. Okay.
So first of all, it was my first time in City Hall in like 5 months. You know, I told you I was like, I'm over these jokers. Yeah. But one, it's hard for me sometimes not to show up because you know we're only 2 blocks from City Hall.
Right.
But the presser yesterday and the bill signing was the Cannabis Equity bills, right? And so the city of Seattle signed in yesterday. Mayor Harrell signed 3 bills relating to cannabis equity. And you know, man, the cannabis, we always is real skeptical over here when we talk about cannabis and cannabis equity, man, because, you know, black people traditionally in this state, man, we get flim-flammed, sham shuckle, run a buck,
and
led astray, bamboozled around everything cannabis. But so I popped up there yesterday and I was really surprised, to be honest with you. There was it was really a broad coalition of people. Like you had you had people from the unions. The UFCW was there. You had different stakeholders and retailers and even growers that were present. Then you had different community groups like the Freedom Project and all these guys. They was all in it. They was bunched up behind the mayor. But, I took the opportunity to, as usual, when I'm in City Hall, I want to ask the questions that people, the final mile, want to hear. People don't want to hear all this legalese and everything else. So the first clip right here is I'm asking Mayor Harrell to clearly explain what this legislation is all about.
Speaking to people specifically from our neighborhood, the Central District, or the South End of Seattle, within this municipality, one, people who've directly been impacted, maybe incarcerated or got a record around marijuana, and also two, maybe entrepreneurs or people who want to go into this industry. What exactly do these bills do in a straightforward kind of way?
Sure. I'm going to answer that, and thank you for that question. I'm going to answer that, and then I'm maybe going to ask Brianna or Teresa if they want to chime in a little bit. So the first thing, as you talked about, as you astutely pointed out, we have to work with the community to find out exactly what our needs are. And when we talk about the effects today, not just in terms of economic loss, we're missing out on this multi-billion-dollar industry, but we also still have the effects of institutional racism on what it caused to our families. And it goes all the way in our equity work, and even in terms of property acquisition. So the first thing we're going to fund is this needs assessment. It's not going to be a top-down approach. So working with those who do work in the areas of redress and harmful effects in communities, we'll figure out where we need to make sure our investment strategy goes. Then with respect to the licensing process, when we look at these no-charge social equity license concept, we have to lower the barriers of entry to make sure that, quite frankly, the community's impact, Black folk, people of color, that they are enjoying the benefits of this decriminalized industry as everyone else. In fact, one would argue more so in the sense of these communities are impacted the most. So that's going to be true equity. The other piece is going to be the industry is growing. We are one of the first states to decriminalize it, and it's fraught with inconsistencies in terms of safety and wage theft. People trying to game a system because the safeguards in place. How do we address that and make sure our community is protected? So that's the needs assessment piece, and we'll convert that needs assessment into real legislation. And quite candidly, we have to lead the state and lead the federal policies in this discussion. We figure this stuff out here in Seattle, and Seattle's willing to invest in this space to make sure it's done right in this country as this country puts their arms around this issue. I hope I left something for either Brianna or Teresa to say if I messed up in any way. Would you want to say anything?
Thanks, Mayor Harrell. I think that's the basics of those three pieces of legislation. We are protecting workers with safeguards, economic and in their workplaces. We're making sure that the Black community has redress from the fact that they were displaced in the transition from medical to recreational cannabis. We know there was not an equity lens during that process, and we're working to get that right this time here at the city level. As the mayor mentioned, we can't do it by ourselves. We need the state to take action, and we'll be watching this legislative session. And last but certainly not least, we're making sure that those barriers to entry, we're getting that cost as low as possible with social equity licensing here at the city level. And we're ready for ancillary businesses whenever the state is. Hope that answered your question.
All right. So Deontay, so basically, anytime you ask a politician to just tell it like it is, it's still more than just tell it like it is. But so what Mayor Harrell is saying is that this legislation is one, they want to listen to community that's been most impacted by the war on drugs, and be able to find a way to repair past harm. The second thing is the lowering the barrier to entry to people who are seeking licenses. And the third thing, of course, is why the union was there, was safety in these dispensaries. Man, it's all about jack and kidnap in these dispensaries. It goes down, it gets funky. And so those are the three things that these three different bills are supposed to address.
And I think that it's really important. And I think that one of the things that I respect is the diversity of people that were there, right? Impacted. I would love to see more impacted people a part of these panels and a part of the planning of this, right? And I do want to definitely shout out Trae, who actually brought this to my attention. She actually spoke at a city council panel on this specific discussion. So shout out Trae.
Yeah. So I don't smoke, but I know the equity is important.
But when I did,
but you know, so here's the thing is that what really needs to happen, right? And so the dispensary is cool, the license is cool, but you know, the city is all the good locations are kind of taken, right? But you know, it's cool, you still get a license, but you know, it's capital intensive to their business. What they need to do is change the law so somebody could just have like a cafe.
Yeah,
because you know, I mean, that's something that we already know in our community. As many of our community open restaurants and lounges and stuff like that. If you could have your Bud Cafe, or you could go and, you know what I'm saying, your Bud and Breakfast, or you could go
Bud and Breakfast. That sounds like something.
Or you could go and, you know, your restaurant is all Bud, whatever. Because when you talk about an actual a barrier to entry and lowering a barrier to entry, you know, that's another thing when they call it all the ancillary things around marijuana. Something else, though, on this topic that was real important is, you know, before the law changed and everything, there was a lot of Black businesses that were in the medical marijuana dispensaries. You know, medical marijuana was their business. And these guys came and changed the law, and basically all the Black folks was put out of business. And, you know, of course, all the non-Black folks kind of got the licenses, right? And so there's a reporter there, his name escapes me, but from Real Change is on the job, and asked the mayor that now that the city acknowledges the harm to the Black medical marijuana business owners, what is the city planning to do?
I'm curious specifically about the medical transition. You mentioned the harm the city has done and the taking out of wealth of that community. It was specifically done by a city ordinance. Do you feel we owe those businesses, many of which were Black owned, any form of redress? And if you do, what will that be in more concrete terms, economic, licensing, other than just you get a free license?
Well, I think you get a free license is a pretty solid start, but we are going to do
like thousands, tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in business
and generations worth of wealth that was potentially built. No argument there.
Those are operating businesses and like that. I'm just curious, you know.
I'm just trying to answer your question.
Yeah. Clarify.
So I think that's why we're having the needs assessment, and those folks will be at the table. They were part of this conversation. They've been guaranteed a seat. You heard it here first, because I want to hear what they need. I don't want to presume what it is they need. I think government does plenty of that. So I think we'll be doing a lot of listening on the front end on what it is exactly they're asking for in terms of restitution and legislation moving forward.
So the reporter there from Real Change is pressing the line. He's like, you know, so he asked a question. Of course, that's Brianna Thomas right there. You might remember Brianna Thomas ran for City Council position 9. And she is now the labor liaison from the Harrell administration. And, you know, a question being like, how are you guys going to repair harm for these Black businesses that a city ordinance put out of business? And, you know, she was like, well, you know, a free license is a good start. But homie pressed the line. He was like, and?
Right.
Because he's like, you know, an operating business that was put out of business, man, what's the long-term effect of that? A generational wealth and all these other things. But in the city's defense, and Brianna Thomas' defense, she said, hey, we're listening, and they're going to have a shorter listening period. So not like we're going to listen for the next 3 years or something,
right? But
maybe over the next 12 months. But I mean, you know, we'll see what happens. I'm always skeptical of government, like I'm supposed to be, but I can say that this is a step. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, if things come together like this legislation intends it to do, then it should be a step forward.
You know, I'm also skeptical of people in offices, but I will shout out the administration for pushing this through. I thought it was going to take a while, because it usually does, like with dangling a carrot especially. But I just hope that they continue to be more intentional when it comes to us.
All right. So I got 2 other things here for you. We promised everybody yesterday we talked about Find and Go. And so we said we'd save some of the pictures for today. So the first thing is, this is from this weekend. This is Wari Walk the Block. I know you didn't make it.
I did not.
Yeah, you can. That was your cue, Daryl, when I said walk the block. You see how I left the block hanging? Block. That's your cue.
Look at it.
So, yeah, so photos from over in the Central District, you know what I'm saying? Gentrifier is not allowed. But, man, this was dope. You know, all throughout the Central District, there was all kinds of different art displays happening there. And one time for Wari, man.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
Wari is they're really just grounded in it. You feel me?
Right. When I say when we used to be on the block, they are hugging our block. They are making they're making their presence known, and let alone still advocating to heal our community. And the best thing is for us, community is really important. Our community is important, and just these opportunities just to be around people. You don't have to be into art to experience the sense of community, right? So that was really dope. I got one more. I know I'm over time over here for you. No, you are okay.
Hello. Okay, Deontay, I like your show.
You are okay.
Excuse me, because Trae Holiday give me the look. Most people don't know the look.
Okay.
Trae Holiday be like, boy, if you don't get off my set, Trae be like, you overtime. If you don't get off, I'd be like, dang, the queen has spoken. Okay, Trae, I'll see you later. All right, so this one, we talked about Aunt Viv yesterday, man.
Yeah, yes,
you know what I'm saying? Art Noire. Yeah. It's tough to go from Ebonics to French.
Yeah, you got it. Art Noire.
Arte Noire. Art Noire. But nah, so this is dope. Like I said, Auntie Viv, Vivian Phillips, everybody up there, this just opened in Midtown. You can go ahead and put this up, Daryl. 23rd and Union, man. You know what I'm saying? 23rd and Union, the reunion on Union, the Renaissance on Union. And this is a Black art space. And I tell you, Deontay, it is beautiful, brother.
Oh, man, I cannot wait to go. Miss Phillips, I'm on my way just to see the art that's out there in the exhibit, just to see Union lighting back up with our community, let alone we have Communion's right around the corner. We're out there.
The Jerk Shack's going in. Miss Helen's going in.
Jerk Shack's. Hold on, wait a minute. I missed that.
You know that?
Oh, it's supposed to be on and popping.
This is what I'm saying. Man, the block is hot.
Right.
In a good way. Wari's right around the corner, like
Liberty Building. Look at us. We're all over the
block.
Get my hair cut. Earl's like, I think I got my whole weekend planned out next week.
I mean, man, that's community. You know what I'm saying? And it's the intentionality of people in our community. And even in partnership with developers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? To make a lot of this happen.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. Being from the CD, right? Watching how gentrification impacted us. How do you feel when you are looking at your community members that you grew up with, that were your mentors, come back and take it back? How does that feel for you?
You know how I feel is I used to do a lot of stuff. We used to cover gentrification and displacement a lot more before COVID and Seattle protests, and I used to do these interviews with different publications nationally, and I tell them the difference between us and Seattle and a lot of other cities across America is we ain't waving the white flag. We fight for every single inch of our neighborhood, and we ain't never gonna stop fighting. And it's that fight. Yeah. It's the fight, bruh. It's the fight that creates the space now for people to come back. They got pushed out. We ain't never quit. It's a lot of Black communities across America where they waved that white flag. And they was like, man, we lost it. We fighting for every single inch, and we're going to continue to fight for it. So when I see fam come back to the CD, hell yeah, man, it's heartwarming.
That is amazing.
All right, well, do my thing.
Well, thank you for the news.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So just a heads up. So tomorrow, both me and Brian Callanan are out. So Brian's going to send you something with an update because, the happiest guy in West Seattle. Talk about some of the bridge and what's going on over at the city council. And I'm sure you'll get something for you. I'll either see you live over video link tomorrow or we'll pre-record something. But I just want to tell you, you're doing a fantastic job.
Well, I appreciate you, I appreciate you. And now I got to give you that look that Trae gave me like this. Now, when we come back, we have Habitat for Humanity's Cliff Cawthorn. You are watching A Day with Trae.
Baseball is a beautiful game, especially when played in community. Earlier this summer, Baseball Beyond Borders took a powerful, eye-opening journey through the heart of the South, which included baseball, civil rights, and reconciliation. Our Young Kings hosted a baseball clinic at Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi, and hit the road to Montgomery, Alabama by way of the historic Edmund Pettus Bridge to visit the Equal Justice Initiative Museum and Memorial, all in an effort to ground our Kings in their history and find serenity in the sport they love to preserve the cultural legacy. Join Baseball Beyond Borders on September 27th for the premiere of our film, Reconciliation Tour, at T-Mobile Park's Ellis Pavilion from 3 to 5 p.m. Hear from those on the front line as well as special guests as we elevate our promise to bring healing through play. For tickets or to donate, visit baseballbeyond.org or check our social media platforms.
Hey, everybody. So glad to have y'all back here. Now I'm here with my lovely guests. I call him, he's like a brother to me, but I'm just happy that he is continuing his journey in making sure we are holding people accountable in our areas of policy for housing, from Habitat from Humanity. Cliff Cawthorn. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. And just to be clear, dude, you officiated my wedding. You're family.
Yes.
Like, you can come to family reunions.
Okay.
Mind you, you might have to take a flight or two, like South Carolina or New York.
Yeah.
But you can do it.
Shout out to moms, too. So how
Shout
are
out
you?
Shout out to my mom. Anyway,
Yes.
you know what? I'm both thrilled and happy, especially to see you in the space, but also I am burning fiercely burning with righteous indignation about the housing crisis that we have in front of us. So I'm really eager to discuss that with you.
Yeah, so let us know how deep that is in our community. Like, we know we have these conversations, but how deep is the housing crisis here in Western Washington?
So we, like actually every other major city around and even minor city around the country, are facing both a housing shortage and affordability crisis. In fact, when Wari was talking earlier about fighting for every inch and all the amazing coverage that Converge has done around gentrification and displacement, that we have seen the impacts of the worst of the housing crisis in the central area. So on the one hand, we have this amazing resistance that's happening through placemaking and through the creation of affordable units that we see in Liberty Bank building, but also for what Habitat does. So Habitat is an affordable housing developer, and also we are an agent of advocacy, and we advocate for permanently affordable housing to be able to build that.
Okay, and that being said, how does that affect Black and brown folks?
Absolutely.
Yes, we do see it during crisis. So when I lived in Florida, I remember seeing it during the hurricanes, but that's a roundabout thing. But how does that affect Black and brown?
So I'm glad you brought up Florida, because that for Black and brown folks, and particularly, for a Black community, we are often the most impacted by any socioeconomic shock. And I use that word very intentionally. So shout out to my folks that have read the shock doctrine. But when, we saw in Florida, in New Orleans, when there are traumatic events, right, that the kind of, the kind of development, the policies that are put into place after that, because of how vulnerable we are to these shocks, because of the historic disenfranchisement that we have suffered our hands at, and that we have resisted, but still have to deal with, that often that we are not always able to catch those policies being made. So one of the things I want to lean in here is that, one, when it comes to building permanently affordable housing, which we do, about a third of our recipients, a third of our homeowners are Black, right? And what we're doing is we're building community, right? And then two, when it comes to the kind of advocacy and the policy priorities we have, one of the big policy priorities that I both personally and professionally are really excited about is supporting Black home ownership, which means supporting down payment assistance, which means supporting policy change to create more opportunities for affordable home ownership. Right. And I'll get to that part in a second. Not just affordable housing, but home ownership, but also supporting Black-led organizations, right? Because for us, we fully acknowledge that, Habitat is not traditionally Black-led organization, but we partner with a number of Black organizations in this area, and also our other affiliates around the country. And, many of our staff come from the community that, we want to make sure that the work that we're doing is in line with the community.
Right. And see, and the thing about what I'm just so happy that you're at this mark, right? I know that like you're not new to this, you're true to this. Can you let people know about some of the history of you working in the areas of housing?
You know what? I've spent my life in service of the people. Actually, on the way here, just to kind of get myself pumped, I remember, there are two speeches by Fred Hampton. Now, I want to misquote him, but basically, to dare to, if you want to win, you have to dare to struggle. And again, I'm probably misquoting that, but I bring that up because my entire career has been service to the people. So ever since I came to Washington almost 10 years ago, I've worked in the labor movement. I've worked in the community, often, fighting for Black spaces, for particularly struggles that center us around housing. So, when I was the organizing director for Standing Against Foreclosure and Eviction in Seattle, we were one of the groups that was at Ground Zero at 23rd Union. And before this, I was at Sightline, which is a think tank here in Seattle that works on various housing policies as well as environmental policies that significantly impact communities of color. And within that, I was strategically working with various organizations in order to make sure that our voices were heard, because in those rooms, I am often the only person that looks like me. I know a lot of people tend to say that when they, come from those spaces and talk about their experiences. But and also I teach at Bellevue College part-time, so I'm still currently teaching. And we have actually a really good Umoja program on there. So when I had a panel a couple of years back during the pandemic, we brought Black political consultants, and they're all saying the same thing. And they were saying that, look, that if we want to change that, and if we want to see better outcomes for our communities, then we have to stay down. We have to stay 10 toes down in these spaces, making our voice heard. And also, I want to shout out that this is National Voter Registration Day.
Yeah.
And the importance of that. So if you know someone, who isn't registered, register them. If they've recently moved, update their registration, because both these elections as well as the movement in the streets, they matter.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
As well as Black-led media.
Right. As well as, of course.
Mm-hmm.
and so now, like, either way, like when you're out here in this area of working for Habitat and Humanity, like how can Black and brown folks or people in our community get more access to that? Absolutely. Is there any numbers or any ways to contact?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked. So all they have to do is take out their phones and text Habitat to 231 Habitat. So for I'll just say older millennials like us, that would be 231. I'll just make sure you remember a number, 422-4828. So text the word Habitat to 231-422-4828. And now this is going to bring up a message where you can be added to our advocacy alerts.
Okay.
And I should add that in the next few months, that you're going to be seeing more advocacy alerts from us because of what's happening locally, but also the fight that we're going to see in this upcoming legislative session.
Yeah, and that's where I was going to kind of segue in. Kind of last question, right?
Of course.
So I know that like last year you were running for city council, right? Mm-hmm. And then here we are now. You're out here working on these policies for housing. What is next for you?
So I just want to specify as Kent City Council.
Kent City Council.
Yeah.
Sorry. You
No,
don't know
it's
nobody?
all right. It's all right. I wanted to shout out, our communities in South King County, because those are increasingly, becoming the, no disrespect to CD and the revitalization we're seeing there by us and for us, but those are becoming the center of, black and brown community, or at least where we go rest our heads at night. Because of displacement, but we're still making it work, and we're still building there. Now, what is next apropos to that is a couple things for me. What I'm focusing on right now is tackling local and county policies when it comes to housing. And mind you, it's only my third weekend, so I'm still really getting used to this position. But there's a lot going on with the comprehensive planning process, and a lot of those kind of development processes that affect housing, and conversations around funding permanently affordable housing. But this next legislative session, that there is a potential for us to be able to win on an ambitious legislative agenda that's going to really change the game when it comes to housing. And I, for one, want our community, a Black community, brown people, working people, to be at the center of that, because our voices deserve to be heard and our needs deserve to be addressed.
Yes, and I appreciate you for continuously trying for not trying, but doing the thing of making sure that our needs are met, making sure that you're being the voice for the voiceless. I appreciate you so much, Cliff.
Hey, I appreciate you too, family.
Yes, and thank you so much for coming here today.
Absolutely. And also, just going to shout out again, text the word habitat to 231-HABITAT. That's 231-422-4828, because not everyone remembers the keys with the letters on them.
Yes, I know that's right. Thank you so much, right? Cliff. So in the meantime, everybody, I want to thank y'all again for being here today, but we're going to take a quick break, and we'll do a quick recap and tell you what's going on tomorrow. You're watching A Day with Trae.
Baseball is a beautiful game, especially when played in community. Earlier this summer, Baseball Beyond Borders took a powerful, eye-opening journey through the heart of the South, which included baseball, civil rights, and reconciliation. Our young Kings hosted a baseball clinic at Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi, and hit the road to Montgomery, Alabama by way of the historic Edmund Pettus Bridge to visit the Equal Justice Initiative Museum and Memorial, all in an effort to ground our Kings in their history and find serenity in the sport they love to preserve the cultural legacy. Join Baseball Beyond Borders on September 27th for the premiere of our film, Reconciliation Tour, at T-Mobile Park's Ellis Pavilion from 3 to 5 p.m. Hear from those on the front line as well as special guests as we elevate our promise to bring healing through play. For tickets or to donate, visit baseballbeyond.org or check our social media platforms.
All right, y'all, that's all the time we have today. Now, tonight, y'all, Converge is still going on, because tonight at 8:30, it's The Truth with Proof. That starts at 8:30, y'all. So remember, he has an amazing guest. You don't want to miss it, okay? And then keep in mind, tomorrow, I shall be with you again on my lonesome, giving me the reins. I appreciate that, brother, but Tomorrow we'll be talking about education with Apollonia Washington. Oh, I almost called her Williams. Apollonia Washington from A for Apple Daycare. I think it's going to be, she's from the CD, so we're going to be talking about childhood education and some great things that she has going on with Kate, the paint lady. You do not want to miss it. Thank you guys for joining the Day with Trae. Y'all have a blessed day.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.